Alright guys and girls, welcome back to another video of mine on my YouTube channel. Now I just want to do some like soap talk today on TV soaps. Now we have like the soaps over in the UK like Eastenders, Coronation Street, Emmerdale, and yes, sometimes they're all full of drama, and sometimes actually the drama's quite good actually. The scenes are really intriguing and they keep you sort of like interactive with it to watch and all that, and you're kind of glued to the box and stuff. And it's fantastic. And some scenes, they get really good to the point where you don't know if it's like sort of that great or not great. But sometimes you still have to stay to the box just to see what's going to happen next. Now Christmas is coming, right? So we're a few days off Christmas. And it is Thursday the 21st of December. And I watched the episode of Eastenders tonight on the 21st, on the Thursday. And do you know what? At the end of the episode, it was just fucking hilarious. I don't know whether they just put it in there just for a laugh. Because obviously when they're behind the scenes and stuff, they start laughing. I presume they do all their little bloopers and mistakes and stuff, because they have to put the episodes out there. And obviously sometimes you make mistakes on soaps or shows or films and stuff, and you have a laugh over it, and that's how you get over it, and then you get serious afterwards. Anyway, in this episode, it was fucking hilarious at the end. Now, if you ever like sort of get glued to yourself to the TV on Christmas time or around the Christmas time and all that, and they have some Christmas special episodes on. Well, this wasn't a Christmas special, but you could say this is like one of the best fucking episodes I've ever seen. What do you think? One of the best. Not like the best, but it's one of my favourite episodes so far of EastEnders. And if you guys and girls don't know what EastEnders is, it's a UK TV soap. And it's usually on the BBC channel, BBC One. Broadcasted by BBC, and it's based in London, East End, and that's why it's called EastEnders. And it's just fantastic. Now we've got these characters which are like in there at the moment. You've got Ian Beale, who basically put what's his name, Max Brannan, to prison about a year ago. He came out recently, like I would say a couple of months ago, back, wasn't it, something like that. And then he got tied up with this bloke who apparently raped this woman. Was her name Kathy in it? Raped Kathy back in like the 90s or something like. Was it the 19? It's got to be about 1980 or something, when they had the few first episodes of it. I think it's when they first started EastEnders off. They had these like really dramatic scenes. And now, basically, this Brown guy, he literally, he's been basically the boss of this company. And he's basically getting Max Brannan to work for him and to take down Albert Square, to be honest, and try and blow up everything. Well, not basically blow up and kill everybody, but to put it into, he's like sort of a mafia boss. He's building up high-rise buildings, and he's trying to move everybody out of the street and literally fuck everybody over. So what he does, he's trying to buy everything out, all the houses, all the buildings, try and build up this new empire, and then get in these big business people in there. So basically, he's getting Max Brannan to work for him. Anyway, so basically, recently, he got Max Brannan to work for him, and he said he was going to give him like, what was it, 20% or something cut if he'd helped him to get rid of the street. And he knew that Max Brannan had a beef with everyone in the street entirely, because basically Ian Beale, right, put him to prison. Phil Mitchell put him to prison, and they setted Max Brannan up, because basically he was sort of like the bad guy, the villain. They didn't like him, so they set him up for a murder that happened. Now Ian Beale's daughter, they'd I think it was like a 2 year sort of storyline, wasn't it, man?
Yeah.
It went on for like 2 years or something like that. The storyline, it said who killed Lucy, and they've been trying it for like, it actually came on for a whole year, the whole episode, because no one knew who was going to be the actual murderer of Lucy Beale, which was actually, Lucy Beale was the actual daughter of Ian Beale. And then you've got Jane, who was the sort of like, I think she was like the stepmother, wasn't she? She is to her. It's not actual real mother anyway, not birth mother, stepmother or something like that. Anyway, but she got shot years gone by, a couple of years gone back. It was at a house, and she couldn't give kids no more. Jane, and she got shot in the stomach. And it was by Ian Beale's, I think it was son by, actually it wasn't even his son, was it? It was it David Wicks, was that David Wicks' son?
I don't know, I can't remember.
I think it was one of, was it Simon Wicks? Was it Simon Wicks' son? What's his name? Ian's son, it's supposed to be Ian's son, but he's taken him on as his son.
Yeah, probably.
The one who's just got killed because old Max killed him, left him in that
I can't remember because I didn't see all the scenes.
Anyway, well, there's a lot of episodes in this series, and it kind of gets up to this climax for the Christmas special. Now, it's kind of a hard storyline to follow. Anyway, Lucy got killed, I think it was like about a year and a half ago, 2 years gone back, and they did this dramatic storyline. Went on for a whole year. It said who killed Lucy. Anyway, they ends up finding out Ian Beale had a sort of like another son, a young son, a little boy. And what was his name?
Peter?
No, he got Peter. He got his other son, that little one.
Stephen?
No, not Stephen, the other one.
Bobby?
Bobby, yeah, little Bobby. So little Bobby, he was the one, he killed his sister, Lucy. Yeah, apparently, I think he bashed her over the head, wasn't it? With was it like a sort of a clock or something, with it? Or one of those musical boxes. Yeah, cracked her over the head. And they did this sort of thing like, but it went on. We didn't know for a whole year who actually did the murder. And they had these like different sort of pictures. They kind of put them into like sort of different orders, different positions. And like, they actually had different suspects. So you had like sort of, did Ian do it? The actual father who had it in for his daughter in the first place, and then he called her something because he caught her doing cocaine, wasn't it? Something like he did because she had something about cocaine or something. She was taking the daughter because she was trying to, basically they had a little storyline. She was taking cocaine, and she got onto this bus, went to this location, and then they found her basically dead. But they knew she was alive at the time when she was on the bus. Anyway, this storyline drives out loads of, like, there was about 7, 8 different suspects, and one of them being Max Brannan. Now, Jane actually found out that Bobby actually did the killing and actually whacked his sister over her head and killed her and all that. Jane actually covered up for Bobby, who was actually her son, basically with Ian. And then kind of like they hid, not hid the body or anything. They put the body somewhere down a lake or something, or somewhere anyway. But it got to this point in time now. It's got up to this point. He went, basically Max Brannan went to prison for Lucy's murder. When it wasn't even him who did the murder, it was Bobby. It was Ian's little son. It was little son. And then after a while, he got sent to one of these like little schools for naughty children. Basically sends them off to like sort of a boarding school. Anyway, that gets him out of the way. Ian basically sends Max Brannan. Actually, it was actually Phil Mitchell who bribed the judge to put Max Brannan to prison. Now, Ian was actually enemies with Phil Mitchell, but it was technically his dad, wasn't it? Something like it was his dad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Phil was his dad, basically, to do, because he used to go out with Kathy, his mum, and all that. And Kathy's Ian's mum, and they own the Kathy. Anyway, this Wilmot Brown actually raped Kathy and stuff back in like 1985, 1987 or so in one of the episodes. And then you had Dirty Den, who basically confronted him and was going to kill him and stuff. Anyway, he went off, he went to prison. Wilmot Brown went to prison. Now he's been released, or was released for a little while, and he's out of prison now and all that kind of stuff. Now we've got Max Brannon working for Wilmot Brown, the rapist. Now he gets into this sort of like point where he's working for Wilmot Brown, and Wilmot Brown's just come back. He's come back with his daughter. He's come back with his daughter Fee, and then his son is Josh, and his other son, what's his other son's name? Luke, innit? And Luke has been basically having an affair with Phil Mitchell's son and been beating the shit out of him. So basically they've been having like a sort of affair. But Ben Mitchell, who's Phil's son, didn't even know that basically there's something going on, that his mum, or actually his father, actually raped Ben's mum. Ben's mum is actually Kathy, and is also basically Ian's mum as well. Yeah, Ian's mum is Kathy as well. So Ben and Ian are basically brothers. And I think at some point there's going to be maybe a story, I don't know if unless they've changed it, but they're going to find out basically Luke, who has been going out with Ben, and they've been dating each other and stuff. There was going to be some sort of scenes. I don't know whether they've changed stories now, their lines on it, but there was some talks in it that they were going to find out them two were actually brothers or something, or some like certain to the family. So there might be some sort of connections there, which is that going to keep me intrigued to watch that, to see what happens. Now, basically, Wilmot Brown got not Ian. He got Max Brannon to do his dirty work, and said he was going to give him 20% if he worked for him. Give him 20% of the business, which is actually a lot of money, considering what he's building up, this big massive empire, and he's taken up all the streets, and he's been bribing people and everything. And it's getting to that point now where basically he's got screwed over by Wilmot Brown, and he's on the tethering edge of what is going to happen now. Something big's going to happen. It's going to explode. Now, Max Brannon, he's got a daughter. Actually, he's not one daughter, he's got two. He's got Lauren, who's basically having it off with Josh, who she actually was having it off with her boss, who's called Josh, who's actually working with his dad, Wilmot Brown, the rapist one. Now, Max is basically been playing his daughter, and he's been playing his other daughter, and he's trying to set his daughters up as well, because Lauren actually did run her dad over a few years going back and tried to kill him and stuff. And then Max Brannon's wife actually tried to bury him and stuff a few years going back in some of the scenes, so you can check out that. Absolutely, they got loads of YouTube videos on about it, but I'm trying to put it into more of a sort of a long story, but trying to get up to the climax thing. That's why I'm doing this like long sort of video. But it's getting to the point now, like they've been buying out the whole street, these sort of like mobs, they're like mobsters or something, London mobsters. And basically they've been buying these buildings all around, and they're building them up. They're knocking down some of these buildings, and they're building sort of massive like 3-story, 4-story buildings. And now it's going to get to the point, and there was an episode where basically I think it was not Peter, it was Stephen, was getting bribed by Max Brannon to burn one of the houses down to get some of the tenants out of one of the houses, and they've actually supposed to burn down one of the flats. And it's got that intriguing story connected with him and his daughters and Josh and all these other characters coming together. Now, everyone in the street has screwed him over. the bloke who, Wilmot Brown, who's going to give him the 20% for working for him to do his dirty work, basically his henchman. And now he screwed him over. He screwed his daughter. Wilmot Brown screwed his daughter over, Fee. He's also screwed over Josh, because Josh don't like his dad no more, because he didn't want to get into the business in the first place, and he didn't want to do all his dad's dirty work. And his dad kept saying to him, oh, you're not got it in you at all, you're just a failure, and all this kind of stuff. Now, Luke has been basically threatening Josh, his brother, because Josh and Luke are brothers. And basically, Luke literally grabbed him around the throat, like he did with Ben in one of the episodes in the garage, and said to him, like, he said, oh, you're going to do what I tell you, because if you don't, he said, then when we're finished, we're done and stuff. So basically, tried to do this sort of like manipulation, try to manipulate him. He likes manipulating him. He's basically, Luke is just like his dad. Basically almost like a rapist and all that. I think this is where it's going to get up to this point. Now Josh, who's the brother with Luke, he's kind of softer, and he's going out with Lauren, and Ian has basically found out that it's that he thought that Josh was going to be exactly the same as Luke and as this Wilmot Brown, as bad is. And now they've just found out that all Josh wants to do is go out with Lauren and just be a happy family. He just wants to have a family. He wants to go off and take her somewhere and just be, because basically Stephen used to go out with Lauren, and actually Stephen is actually Ian's son, and in one of the scenes he actually faked a brain tumour. He pretended to have cancer and had a brain tumour in the episode, which actually, the scenes kind of do get controversial in these episodes, and they do get to the point where it's like, what the hell's going on in the episodes? And like, sometimes there's some shocking episodes in there. Like, I don't know how the BBC can get away with stuff like this, but there is some shocking shit in there. But anyway, he faked a brain tumour because he was basically said he was dying and he only had a couple months left. So he told his girlfriend because he wanted a baby with her. And then he found out that he had a baby, or she had a baby with Josh, her boss. And Lauren then didn't tell Stephen about it. Stephen found out. So Stephen had like sort of a sexual affair with Lauren's sister, Abby. Now, basically, Max killed Stephen, left him in the house in one of these big like restaurants, and it set fire to it, and then they took him to the hospital, and then he died on the operating table. That is sort of like, oh my god, this is just like over the past 4 months, all these scenes have been literally coming together, except for the Who Killed Lucy scenes. That was about 2 years ago. But I'll tell you what, some of these dramatic episodes, just fantastic. And I can't wait for the Christmas specials. Then there was ones where an ambulance turned over, because you got Danny Dyer in EastEnders as well, one of the most fantastic Londoner film actors of all time, does all the gangster movies and all that kind of stuff, and he plays as Mick Carter, and he's supposed to be doing a job with Phil Mitchell, and he's supposed to be doing it with this bloke called Aidan, who's just came in anonymously, wants them to do a job, and he wants these 5-6 other blokes to do a job with him, and it's a big flipping job. So by the looks of it, it could be like sort of a bank robbery they want to doing. Anyway, he gives Aidan gives Mick Carter a gun. His wife finds out about it and says, oh well, because basically Mick Carter is the owner of the Queen Vic, and what they're doing, the Queen Vic is the most famous pub in all of London in the episode. And basically he owns it. Now, well, he did own it. He actually is just had to give it up because he had to owe 50 grand for the business, and it's getting closed down because these gangsters, Wilmot Brown's coming into it, and basically wants a piece. He wants to buy up the entire area, and what he's done, he's had to like fuck everybody over technically, in not so many words. But he's just had to mess them all up. And basically, he's they bought half of the business. These gangsters and the family, this other family, bought half of the business. Now there were some leaks in the episode on the house, actually on the pubs. The actual pub, the Queen Vic itself, had some floods in it, and there was loads of water flooding through. Now they couldn't afford to pay for the Queen Vic to get built up. Now while Mick Carter was doing some dodgy shit frauding, he went to prison for a couple of weeks, and his mum had to take over. Oh, Shirley Carter. And she signed the pub because she couldn't afford it. They were losing a lot of money and they couldn't afford to keep the pub running and anything like that. So basically, she sold half of the assets over to, I think it was, what's his name? So yeah, basically over to the gangsters and Max Branning. She actually sold it to Max Branning and this woman, Fee. Now, Fee is the daughter, like I was saying, just very good to the Mr. Brown, Wilmot Brown, and basically they've sold half of it. Now they want the entire shop or the entire actual building and everything in it, so they can do renovations into it and make some big, massive buildings in like sort of an empire, because they're buying out the entire of like London in the area and stuff, or Albert Square and that. And apparently renovations are supposed to be more bigger when they get more money, so they can get more rich people and powerful people in there, like more gangsters and all that shit, and they can make a lot of money. So basically Max Branning is now got to the point now he's like on the tether end. He's lost his entire family. His family are against him. They've just walked out on him. His brother, he's got a brother, Jack, who's an ex-cop, an ex-police officer, and he's basically like turned his back on him because he's found out that he had, when he had that a son of his, Jack had a son, but it wasn't actually his son. It was his wife's son, but his wife died at the wedding. Jack's wife got killed with her sister, and they drowned in a swimming pool together. And they were the Mitchells as well, Ronnie and Roxy. They got killed in a swimming pool under the water and drowned, both of them, in a dramatic scenes to finish them off and literally like get them out of the soap. Which you can check it out, Ronnie and Roxy Mitchell death scene. If you put it into YouTube, that'll show you all the scenes and that. And then, like, it's just fantastic, some of the scenes. Now, there was a scene tonight for the 21st of December, getting to the point now to the December one. Now, Max Branning wants revenge. He wants to kill Phil, who actually paid and bribed the actual jury and the judge to put him away for a whole year on the murder that he didn't even do of Lucy. So now he wants revenge for that. He wants probably revenge for Wilmot Brown for screwing him over and not giving him the 20%. And he wants to get like revenge on the entire family as well, of the whole Brown family. And now there's like talks that he wants revenge on his daughters as well, because the one he killed, the bloke, actually the young lad he killed, Stephen, who's Ian Beale's son, or not really actually his son, it's like his half son, but he brought him up as a sort of a son. He's just found out his daughter got pregnant with his baby, Stephen's baby, and well, basically he probably wants to do her in as well, his daughter in, and kill her and get revenge, because they basically turned their backs on him. His own daughters turned their back on him and wouldn't visit him at the prison and stuff within that whole year. So, I mean, to be honest, he was a bit pissed. He got like really like sort of depressed in the prison and literally lost it, and he's on the tipping edge now. He's got nothing to lose. So he wants to take everyone down with him in this like sort of Christmas special. So it's really getting to the point where they need to, I mean, I don't know if there's any redeeming him no more to get Max Branning up to the point where he needs to redeem himself. He needs to turn good again. And I think they're just going to completely kill him off at some point. I think they're just going to literally kill him off. Anyway, there's an episode tonight I was watching for the 21st of December 2017. Fantastic episode. All dialogue. The camera angles were really good, like at close. He had like a sort of like an overhood coat. Max Brannan. And he was like, he had like a sort of a hoodie on. And he had this like sort of like the dark sort of evil look on him. So like he was covered over the top, and he was like had that vicious like sort of devil demon eyes of his, just staring through the camera. It was just fantastic. And then basically he said to Ian in the episode tonight, this is a spoiler if you haven't seen it, don't watch this bit. But anyway, it was in the episode. He basically saw Ian at like the stores, outdoor stores, because they had these sort of like shopping centres outside, outdoor stores. And it got to the point where he saw Ian out there. And he goes, buying Christmas presents, are you? For your Christmas and stuff, for your family. He said, well, at least you got family and all this kind of stuff and all that. He said, all my family's walked up on me and all that. And then Ian was like replied something like, aren't you friends with Wilmot Brown? He said, what happened to him? Don't tell me he's left you too and all that. And then Max was saying something along, that's evil, that's bad, he said, what you just told me. He goes, anyway, he basically drops all the money on the floor. Ian does. Picks up all the coins. He said he's going back to see Lauren. Lauren's actually Max's daughter. And basically, Lauren actually has been living with Ian for a little bit. So he's been looking after Max's daughter. Now, he's really fucking pissed off about it now, Max, because, to be honest, it's eating him up and all that. It's really pissing him off to the point where he's just going to literally, his head gasket's just going to blow off. It's steaming, it's all bubbling up, and he's just raging inside. Anyway, got to the scenes in it tonight. Got really, really gritty tonight. Now, towards the end, it transitioned over to the end. Just fantastic. I just love the ending of it. And how the ending was, basically, near the end, first of all, he was saying to Ian, because Ian dropped all his money on the floor. He picks up the coin, all the coins, except for one. Now, I think it was a £1 coin which dropped on the floor. Now, Max picked it up, the actual £1 coin or the coin or something. Anyway, he goes to Ian, he flips it upside down, up and stuff, like you're going to do a heads or tails thing. And then he goes to Ian, he goes, heads or tails? And then Ian said, what do you mean, heads or tails? He goes, come on. He says, come on. He said, say heads or tails. Anyway, he goes, tails. Anyway, he's got his hand over the top like this. He lifts it up, and it's tails. He goes, well, lucky for you. He said, you've just won yourself a prize. And then that scene in there, then Ian goes, what do you mean I've won a prize? Why? What have I won? And he goes, you'll see. Anyway, so basically, he goes off, and Ian goes off, gets back to the house, how Ian does. And he's opening the door, coming through the door and stuff. He's putting all the shopping down because he's just bought some shopping because he's going to be talking to Lauren tonight and all that, doing all these little things, having a Christmas party with her or Christmas dinner or some shit like that. Anyway, gets to the point, gets to go into the room, goes into the room, opens the door, and there, sit down on the table or chair and stuff, just sitting there on the table. There basically is Max Brannan just sitting there in the chair, and he's just sitting there and he's thinking to himself, my God. And he goes, and then basically Ian's like, says, what are you doing here? He goes, get out of my house, because they don't like each other, so they've been hating on each other. So it got to this point where they're having a discussion and stuff. He says, I've got nothing to lose now. I've got nothing to lose at all. And like they're having like a discussion around stuff. And then basically, Ian like is a bit terrified, screaming. He said, "Leave me alone!" Anyway, Max Brannan has got a knife, and he's on the table, and he says, "Why? What you gonna do?" He said, "Oh," he said, "you ain't gonna kill me." So you ain't gonna kill me. And then he says, "I can help you." He says, Ian says to him, and he says, "I can help you." He says, "Well, how are you gonna help me when you're dead?" That's what he said. How are you gonna help me when you're dead? So basically, he was gonna kill him. He was going to go up to kill him. And Ian says to him, "It wasn't me who put you to prison. It was Phil Mitchell." So he said, "You'll be killing the wrong person." He said, "The revenge you want is actually Phil Mitchell." So basically, he walks off. He's about to run through the door. And then Max captures him, grabs him back, throws him to where the counter is in the kitchen. And then basically he says, "Oh, you've did this to me." He said, "I can't get this out of my head." He said, "I'm going crazy," he said, "and I need to do something, and I'm literally on the tipping point of the edge." Anyway, he goes to there, he's getting close, he's just about to stab Ian with the actual knife. Then basically Ian gets the actual frying pan off the table and smacks fucking Max Brannan over the head. And then tries to make a go for the door and stuff. But Max is very, very devious, very clever. He actually notices back to get to the door. So he gets to the door, runs there, about to run to the door, grabs Ian, drags him into like the living room or dining room, whatever you want to call it. And then at that point, now this was one of my favourite fucking moments in EastEnders. He gets the Christmas lights, puts them around Ian, and starts trying to strangle him with the Christmas lights. I mean, come on, guys and girls. You couldn't want more of an episodic episode, of a finished episode, to strangle someone in an episode of EastEnders with Christmas lights. I mean, come on. Is this Christmas or what? What do you think, man? That was fucking funny moment, wasn't it? Where he's trying to strangle him, and you can see Ian like literally gasping for it, like he's choking to death. Anyway, Lauren walks in, Max's daughter, and she sees her dad, and she's like screaming, "Dad, get off him!" and all that. And it's like, oh my god, it got to that point. Like literally, it was just fantastic episode to finish on for that episode. And I'm literally intrigued now to see how they're going to transition that great episode into another great episode. So it carries on each episode as they go. So it's just like, hopefully, it's a roller coaster of